What's the best question someone asked during a sex ed class? Not really a question, but during sex education we were on the subject of condom usage and teacher asks now, why would it be important for a woman to know how to put on a condom? Student responds confidently, just in case the guy ain't got no arms. Why does the left nut hurt more than the right nut? See your doctor. Semicolon in the diagram of the male genitalia, why are the testicles hanging lower than the peanuts? That's the way they are. Semicolon mine aren't. So either levitating balls or huge dong. Does anus happen to everyone? He meant acne. In the late 90s, is there a reason that the uterus and ovaries are arranged like a Nintendo 64 controller? I died. The most compelling evidence of intelligent design I've ever seen. Is the ex-ed nurse really your mother? Yes, she was really my mother. Oh it. I'm sorry dude. Nah, it was no big deal. If you grow up with your parents comfortable talking to you about sex, hearing the same lesson in front of a classroom of your peers is far more embarrassing for the other people in the class. My mum was in nurse mode and I've always been able to ask her anything about bodily functions without embarrassment if she's in nurse mode. After every class we would write down a question on a slip of paper and they would be collected in a box that the teacher would pick at random. Well, one day someone jokingly put in the question, is it normal for my girlfriend to have a peanuts and why is it bigger than mine? So the teacher had to explain what hermaphrodites are, or the possibility that the person in question's girlfriend had a large clitoris and that they had a very small peanuts. I'm sorry, but your girlfriend is a hyena. Don't make me remember that fact. One kid couldn't wrap his head around the idea of semen and urine both coming out of the male urethra. He went on a pretty lengthy rant about it. What if you have to pee during X, but you can't stop in time and you pee in the girl? Does it feel different for the girl? Is she going to know if you pee inside her? Is it mixed with the semen? He seemed really worried about it. To every other 11-year-old in the class, it was high comedy. In hindsight, I think the teacher did a pretty good job explaining it. One boy asked, when I squeeze my nipples, pus comes out. What's that all about? The answer was a blank stare for 10 seconds followed by a you should probably go see your doctor. Is it necessary to shampoo your pubes? Use bed wash. I'm telling you, your life will never be the same. My pubes smell like lemons. I'm impressed by your flexibility. Best one from the anonymous question box. If you lose your left nut, is your right nut still your right nut? The teacher read it, set the paper down, and after about a minute of silence admitted he didn't know. I think it just becomes the nut, formerly known as the right nut. The nut formerly known as right. It's still the right nut, because it still connects to the right vas deferens and arteries and stuff. We had the anonymous question box. Best submission from my grade was, is masturbation possible for women? And if so, demonstrate. We also had an anonymous question box. One question was, can ghosts have sex? With two poorly drawn ghosts with confused expressions. One was holding his dong. I went to Catholic school. I want to see this drawing. The football coach teacher had us watch The Miracle of Birth on the game tape video player. One kid said, what if you don't want the baby? So he hits reverse and boom, the doctor shoved the baby right back into the vagina. This one actually made me laugh out loud. I asked the teacher, why do I sometimes get an erection even though I am watching a baseball game? She did not know and the class started the bantering. Sadly no one explained nub. No apparent reason boner. To you. I had a pretty chill English teacher that gave us that acronym. Unrelated. Had a hot ass science teacher in 7th grade that when asked the question, what does sperm taste like, she quickly said salty without think about what the reaction would be from a room full of teenage boys. I had a hot science teacher in 10th grade, I think it was. We were talking about costumes for Halloween or something. Someone asked if the teacher could wear a costume to class and she mentioned she had some Halloween costumes and could wear one. So, she started listing off the costumes she had and said pirate costume. A few people asked her to wear that one and she said, I can't wear that one. It's not school appropriate. To this day I imagine her wearing a sexy pirate costume. Luckily my current wife was in that class and totally understands me wanting her to wear a pirate costume. My wife taught her introductory biology course for a community college in Virginia. During the reproductive section they were talking about ways that women could get pregnant. My wife brought up that even if a man pulls out there is still a chance for the woman to get pregnant. One of the ladies in class who already had 3 or 4 kids pipes up at that moment and says, "You mean if my man nuts on my labia I can't get pregnant?" My wife was amused by the fact she used both actual slang and proper anatomy terminology to ask the question. Can I pee on a girl when we're having sex? Well, actually, when you have an erection, it makes it almost impossible to urinate. Well, what if I don't? Can I still pee on them? Oh wow, I guess that's just something you'll have to discuss with your partner at the time. Hold on now, you can definitely pee with an erection. Said every man who has peed through morning wood. I actually got into an argument with my health teacher about this. She pulled rank on me as the health teacher. I've had a peanuts for 14 years at that point. Should have pulled that rank on her. A girl in my 8th grade class asked our health and pay teacher, if I am pregnant with twins of opposite genders, is it dangerous that the male baby gets the female baby pregnant while they're still in the womb? The guy teaching B class stood frozen for 5 seconds before a teaching aide stood up and briefly said no. The look on the man's face to this wild question was absolutely priceless. He was staring off into space thinking about what he just heard. He was so stunned that it seemed to cause a short circuit in his brain. I imagine he has spent a great deal of time pondering the question ever since. Or thought babies can't get pregnant. Human ones can't, but there is a bug that is pregnant when born. Year 11, class aged 15, 16. Someone to the teacher. How effective are condoms? Pregnant girl in class. Not very. Not the way you used them. They were so safe they were using 2 condoms. 1 on each hand. A good sign that your school is doing XED way too late as if there's a pregnant student in that class. Not really a question about XED, but hilarious regardless. Our health class was split by gender for one day. The girls spoke about doing monthly breast examinations while the boys were discussing testicular examinations. Just as we were getting started our teacher was holding a model scrotum to show us how to examine ourselves when another teacher came into the classroom and asked, "Whoa, what's going on in here?" Our pay teacher responds with, "Yeah man, it's nuts in here." Oh god. All we were talking about that day was how your balls could get smashed and freaking ripped apart. Bad memories. 2 good questions from a class full of 5th graders. I was a student in the class, and neither of these questions were asked by me, but I admit, I was wondering about the second one. Q. What if you pee in a girl while you're inside her? Does anything technically stop you from peeing? A. No, you're physically able to pee while inside her, but know that she'll never let you have sex with her again, so you shouldn't do that. There seems to be some controversy about this answer. 2. Q. So, when do we pair off to have sex? Do we get assigned partners or do we get to pick? Because I don't want to get paired up with Stephanie, she's mean. In 6th grade XED, a new student who had been banging one of the better looking girls in our grade stood up to ask his question. He said, "I have a friend." He emphasized the word friend so we'd all know he was talking about himself and to show off that he was sexually active with this girl even though we all already knew it. Who had sex with a girl and now it burns when he pees? Is that normal? While asking the question, he grinned and made sure he looked around the room at all of us so we got his meaning. The XED instructor said back to him, "Well, burning or stinging when you pee after having sex with someone could be a sign of an STD and your friend should go to the doctor and get tested." His face dropped so suddenly into this expression of disbelief and fear and I, for one, couldn't hold back my laughter. Kids were having sex in grade 6 at your school. Believe it or not, yes. Even I couldn't believe it at the time. Can you get pregnant by doing anal? After getting his answer, turns to his girlfriend with a big smile and says, "Told ya." In 6th grade they brought pregnant teens to dissuade us from having unprotected sex. One kid asked if it was a vagina baby or a butt baby. He did not understand that only one leads to childbirth. Well, don't leave us hanging. Which kind of baby was it? I used to teach XEd, and there was a case where yes, you could, if you were messy with the cleanup and wipe forward. Jesus, imagine what you'd think every time you looked at that kid. I conceived him at the same time I got myself a yeast infection. He would literally be a ritwipe. One of my XEd classes had a male and a female teacher. For some reason some kid asked how big vaginas were. The female teacher said they were about 3 inches deep. The male teacher then said maybe yours is, but my wife's sure isn't. Hey honey, how was work today? Told a bunch of kids how deep your vagina is. Oh, okay. He just didn't care lol. If you swallow, do you throw up the baby? Her mind was blown when she realized you can't get prego when you jab her in the gabba. Wait, so that's not how you two get pregnant? Why would a woman put a man's peanuts in her mouth? We were 11 at the time. The better part was the female teacher's answer. I have no idea, that's gross. It took me a few years to realize that her husband was a very unlucky man. Reminds me of that good luck, Mr. Gorski hoax story. When Neil Armstrong walked back to Apollo 11 on the moon, he supposedly said good luck, Mr. Gorski, but always refused to tell what he meant. Decades later, as the story goes, he told a journalist, "When I was a kid, I was playing baseball with my brother in the backyard. He hit a fly ball that landed in front of my neighbor's bedroom window. The neighbors were Mr. and Mrs. Gorski. As I leaned down to pick up the ball, I heard Mrs. Gorski shouting at Mr. Gorski, Oral X. Oral X you want? You'll get Oral X when the kid next door walks on the moon." Mind you, it's a hoax, but it would be too good to be true. Do you know of a story like this? Leave it in the comments below. If you're new here, subscribe for more. We post the best Reddit videos daily. Thanks for watching.